Friend, can we just talk for a minute? I mean, really talk. Have you ever had that feeling, deep down in your bones, that quiet but constant hum of exhaustion that has nothing to do with how much sleep you got? It's like an ache in your soul. You're doing everything you're supposed to do. You're pushing, you're grinding, you're pouring every ounce of your energy onto the altar of hard work, but that promised reward, that feeling of deep, soul-satisfying fulfillment, it just feels like a mirage, shimmering and always just out of reach. Honestly, for years, that was my reality. I felt this profound spiritual weariness, this giant crack between the story I was told about life and the life I was actually living. If you're feeling that right now, I need you to hear this. You are not alone, and you are not broken. What you're experiencing is an awakening. It's your spirit, your higher self, finally saying, I refuse to believe this lie anymore. If this is hitting home for you, take it as the sign you've been waiting for. Pass this on to someone else whose soul might be tired, and if you feel me on this, just drop a little, I am awake, in the comments. Let's find each other. You know, it's funny. From the moment we're born, they start singing us this lullaby. It's a sweet, soothing tune, but it's really a spiritual sedative. I heard it everywhere. In school, from my family, everywhere I looked. The lyrics are simple, and boy, are they convincing. Work hard, they sing. Sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. Be disciplined, be a good, moral person, and the universe will hand you your reward. They paint this picture for us, right? The righteous worker, the disciplined soul, the person who gets up at 4 a.m. without a single complaint. And they tell us, that person, that's the winner. That's who you're supposed to be. I bought into it for so long. I really did. But I've come to understand that this beautiful, comforting story is actually a soul-killing lie. It's a brilliant trap, designed not to set your spirit free, but to tame it. I was reading this old philosopher, Nietzsche, and it was like a bolt of lightning hit me. He saw right through it, ages ago. He called it the morality of the herd. Think about that for a second. A set of rules created not to celebrate the powerful, wild, divine spark in each of us, but to domesticate it. To turn us into predictable, obedient creatures in a world that, when you strip it all away, doesn't really reward quiet suffering. It rewards power. It rewards authentic, unapologetic creation. Before we unpack that, I want to ask you something, and I really want you to let it sink in. Just breathe with it for a moment. If the simple equation of hard work equals success were true, why are so many of the hardest working people we know still just barely getting by? Seriously, think about it. Picture that single mom you know, an absolute warrior of love, juggling 3 jobs, her energy a constant offering to her family. Is she not disciplined? Is she not moral? Or what about the janitor I used to see at my old office building? The one who'd been there for 20 years. His hands cracked and worn from thanklessly making the world clean for everyone else. Is his work not hard enough? And my God, the artists, the creators, the visionaries, pouring their entire being, their very soul, onto canvases or into music that the world might never even see, let alone pay for. Are they not giving everything they have? I see these people everywhere. They are the silent majority. And it forced me to ask the hard question, are all these beautiful souls just not trying hard enough? Or, and this is the scary part, is the whole system, the very moral compass we've been handed, not a guide to truth at all, but a beautifully decorated cage? Nietzsche's big idea, the one that really rattled my cage, was that we've inherited what he called a slave morality. Now, stay with me here. It's not what it sounds like. He meant it's a way of looking at the world that wasn't born from the strength of powerful creators, but from the resentment of those who felt powerless. It's a clever trick of the mind where everything gets flipped upside down. Suddenly, suffering isn't something to be overcome. It's seen as noble. Being meek isn't a lack of power. It's called goodness. And not being able to get what you want isn't failure. It's reframed as the virtue of patience. This worldview makes a romance out of the struggle. It whispers in your ear that to be good, you must endure, you must serve, you must put yourself last. And why? You have to ask, why would a system like this exist? Because, my friend, It keeps us in line. It makes us manageable. It takes billions of unique, fiery, divine souls and turns them into predictable parts of a bigger machine. Think about it. If you can convince people that their exhaustion is a badge of honor, that their suffering is holy, then you never have to fix the broken systems that are causing all that pain in the first place. You just pat them on the back, give them a little moral medal for their endurance, and promise them that the real prize, the real salvation, is coming later, always later. Maybe in the afterlife, maybe after that next big promotion, maybe when the people at the top decide to share a few scraps. It's a brilliant illusion, a carrot on a stick that keeps the whole herd marching quietly along, never daring to question if they're even on the right path. I have to tell you, when I first read Nietzsche, it felt like a fire was lit inside me. He completely rejected this idea of a life deferred. He didn't believe in sacrificing the incredible, vibrant, electric feeling of now for some imaginary paradise later on. His whole philosophy was a call to arms, a plea for us to become who we truly are, not who society has programmed us to be. For me, that meant I had to break free from the lie that my labor, my effort, had some inherent moral value on its own. Because here's the raw, unfiltered truth I've learned. The universe doesn't reward your effort, it rewards your results. It rewards your boldness. It rewards your authentic creation. It rewards the people who disrupt the old ways and dare to create new values, not just follow the old ones. And yet, what were we taught as kids? We were taught to be wary of those people, weren't we? The disruptors, the rule breakers, the ones who say no to the predictable path. They get labeled as reckless, selfish, or dangerous. Why? Because their very existence is a threat to the old narrative. They hold up a mirror and force us to see that maybe, just maybe, we've been playing the wrong game this whole time. That the ladder of success we've been told to climb with all our might doesn't actually lead to the rooftop of fulfillment. It just leads to more ladders, more rules, and more invisible prisons of our own making. So let me ask you a question that Nietzsche would ask, a question that gets right to the heart of it all. Do you want to be good, or do you want to be great? I'm not talking about greatness in that shallow, Instagram famous kind of way. I mean greatness in the deep, soul-shaking sense of becoming your own person, of forging your own values, of creating your own meaning in a world that doesn't hand it to you. And I'll be honest with you, that path is not easy. It's not safe. The world won't always give you a gold star for it. In fact, most people will probably just be confused by it. But it's real, it's alive, and it is completely, utterly yours. The biggest problem with this whole moral labor lie is that it takes you, this divine, infinite being, and it turns you into a tool. You become a cog, not a creator. You start to measure your worth by how much pain you can endure, not by how much of your true self you can express. Your burnout becomes your badge of honor. And then, the worst part happens. A little poison seeps into your soul. You start to resent the people who broke free. You secretly envy them. You call them lucky, or you tell yourself they must have cheated the system. But deep down, in that quiet place, you wonder if they just saw the truth you were too afraid to look at, that the game was never fair to begin with. So where does that leave us? With this brutal, liberating truth, do we just give up on hard work and do nothing? Number, of course not. That's just another trap. We don't abandon work. We must redefine it. We have to stop working hard for systems that don't even see us. We have to stop grinding for goals we don't truly believe in. We have to stop sacrificing our life force on the altar of someday. Instead, we can begin the sacred work of aligning our actions with our soul. We start asking the real questions, the scary questions, the ones that make us feel alive. Questions like, is this job making me more of myself or less? Is this work connected to my soul's purpose or just my survival instinct? Am I truly living or am I just enduring? Nietzsche's call wasn't to be a passive rebel, just complaining about the system. It was a call to be an active creator of value, to replace that inherited, hand-me-down morality with your own vibrant, personal meaning, to live in a way that your life isn't a slow death by 1,000 paper cuts, but a bold, unapologetic yes to your own existence. So, I'll ask you again, and I want you to answer from that deep, true place inside you? What are you really working for? Do you even know anymore? Or are you just chasing a promise that was never meant to be kept? There's this thing I call the virtue trap. It's this sneaky way society gets us to value our own suffering more than our own self-expression. It sells us this idea of manufactured virtue. It's not the real deal, not the kind that comes from courage and authentic values. No, this is the cheap, mass-produced kind. It's the voice that says, if you suffer in silence, you're good. If you obey without question, you're moral. If you run yourself into the ground for others, you're a saint. But that's not a compass, my friend. It's a leash. And Nietzsche, he saw it for what it was. A trap designed to tame our wild, beautiful spirits, to suppress our individuality, and to make us believe that our pain is our purpose. We see it everywhere, don't we? The way we glorify the martyr, the way we applaud people for burning themselves out in the service of others. And at the same time, we cast this quiet shame on anyone who dares to say no, who dares to choose themselves, who dares to walk away from something that isn't aligned with their soul's truth. Just take a second and be radically honest with yourself. How many times have you felt a pang of guilt for taking a day off when you were exhausted? For saying no to a request when you literally had nothing left to give? For even thinking about walking away from a job or a situation that was draining the life out of you? I used to feel that guilt all the time. It felt like a heavy stone in my stomach. But I realized something profound. That guilt wasn't coming from my inner truth. It was planted there. It was conditioned into me by a system that actually benefits from my self-neglect. Because let's face it, a person who is constantly trying to be good is predictable. They're controllable. They're easy to exploit. A person who is obsessed with appearing virtuous will work themselves to death for a pat on the back. They'll silence their own desires so they don't rock the boat. They'll look at their own inner fire, their own passion, and they'll call it selfishness. Nietzsche saw this whole twisted game as a sickness, a culture that fears authentic aliveness more than anything else. Why? Because you can control evil, but you can't control true, unapologetic authenticity. The world wants you to be obedient, not because it's malicious, but because its systems are fragile. They need people to follow the script. They crumble when too many people start writing their own. So, from the day we're born, we're shaped, graded, and rewarded for conforming. And slowly, without us even noticing, our wildness gets tamed, our big questions get muted, and our creativity gets channeled into productivity. And before you know it, you're a responsible adult, getting praised for all the right things, while the most essential part of you is quietly starving. But this is the truth that echoes through all of Nietzsche's work. And it's the truth I want to leave with you today. You were not put on this earth to simply obey. You were born to create, to question, to destroy the old patterns that no longer serve you. You were born to become a new kind of human being, one who doesn't wait for permission to live. This isn't just some nice poetic idea. It's a call to action. Because the real question isn't, what does the world want from me? The real question is, what am I willing to demand from myself? Are you willing to be misunderstood in order to finally be seen? Are you willing to disappoint the crowd to finally honor your own soul? This has nothing to do with ego or rebelling just for the sake of it. This is about truth. The Superman, the Übermensch Nietzsche talked about, wasn't some selfish tyrant. It was a person who took 100% responsibility for their own existence. Someone who didn't blame the world for their suffering but used it as fuel to create their own power. Someone who understood that life is chaotic and beautiful, and instead of complaining about the storm, they learned how to dance in the rain. Can you do that? Because here it is, the hardest and most beautiful truth I've ever learned. No one is coming to save you. Not your boss, not the government, not your parents, not your favorite guru. No one. This life is yours, entirely. And that is both a terrifying and a magnificent realization, because it means the pain is all yours. But my friend, so is the power. You get to decide what this life means. You get to burn the old script. You get to become the author. But to do that, you have to stop living as a reaction to everyone else. No more waiting to be chosen. No more asking for approval. No more trying to squeeze your magnificent, messy soul into someone else's tiny mold. The final, greatest rebellion isn't loud or violent. Most people won't even see it. It happens quietly, in the choices you make every single day when no one is watching. It happens in the standards you set for yourself. It happens in the things you finally walk away from. Not because they're bad, but because they are simply not you. So I'll leave you with this. A doorway. Who would you be if you stopped asking for permission? Not who you're allowed to be, not who you're expected to be, but who you must be in order to feel fully, gloriously, terrifyingly alive. That's not just a question, that's the doorway. And once you step through it, there's no going back. Sure, you'll lose some things. Comfort, predictability, the praise of the herd. But you will gain something infinitely more valuable. You will gain yourself. And when you finally stand in the light of your own becoming, you'll realize that everything you thought you lost was never really yours in the first place. It was just a mask you borrowed. And what you find on the other side, that's the truth. That's the rebellion. That's the life that's been waiting for you all along. Now, go live it.